The Great Pyramid. The greatest monument man has ever built. But was it really built by man? Because some people believe that aliens built the pyramid, or at least provided ancient Egyptians with knowledge required for building it.
They claim that it is not logical that the idea and the knowledge required to build such a miraculous building could pop up in the ancient Egyptians' minds all of a sudden.
According to their claims, the knowledge did not pop up in their minds, but rather came down from the outer space. But did the idea of building the pyramids simply popped up in the ancient Egyptians' minds? To find out the answer, we begin with a place not so far from the pyramids. There, we find some tombs, built for members of the royal family. They were built as rectangular-shaped stone buildings, and now known as mastabas.
Egyptians built mastaba tombs hundreds of years before building the pyramids. At first, their tombs were simple holes in the ground. Then, they thought of making special tombs for their kings. That's why they built mastaba.
The purpose of mastaba was to preserve the body, and in the same time, to point out to the burial site, so the soul of the dead could recognize the place, and be able to unify with the body in the afterlife. Mastaba was a giant gravestone. Egyptians kept building mastaba tombs for their kings in the early dynastic era, until the reign of the king Zoser and his famous chancellor, Imhotep, from the 3rd dynasty.
Imhotep was a unique character. He was the high priest of Ra, and he was also the first known physician in history, and of course, a genius architect.
Imhotep thought that mastaba tomb was not good enough for his beloved king, so he came up with a revolutionary design by stacking 5 more mastabas over the basic one, and for the stability of the construction, each mastaba is smaller than the one beneath. The result was the first pyramid in history, the Step Pyramid of Saqqara. After the king Zoser, came the king Huni, the last king in the 3rd dynasty. He also wanted a step pyramid for his own. For unknown reasons, he built a small ceremonial pyramid on Elephantine Island in Aswan, south of Egypt. But for his tomb, he started building a step pyramid at a site called Meidum, to the south of Saqqara. The king Huni died before completing Meidum pyramid. Then came the king, Snefru, probably son of Huni. He was willing to complete Huni's pyramid. He completed it as a step pyramid. Then, somehow, an idea flashed in his mind. He thought of filling the spaces between the steps of the pyramid, to be the first attempt to build a true pyramid. But while his men were doing their job, smoothing the walls of the pyramid, it appeared to them that the pyramid was to be too high to be stable, because the angle of its walls was too wide, and they figured, if they were to continue, the pyramid would have collapsed.
They tried to widen up the base and add some support to the walls, but it seemed that their efforts were useless.
At some point, the king decided to abandon the pyramid, and the whole building site as well. To fulfill his dream of having a true pyramid, the king Snefru ordered his men to move to a place called Dashur. They started building a second pyramid. this time with a narrower angle. But again, problems began to arise. This time, the ground was not solid enough to support the pyramid mass, and the corners of the pyramid began to crack. In attempt to solve the problem, they completed the rest of the pyramid, with even a narrower angle than its original one. The result: the bent pyramid of Dahshur. To Snefru, the bent pyramid was a complete disappointment. But that man would never give up. He ordered his men to build him a third pyramid at the same site, Dahshur. Learning from their mistakes in the last two pyramids, they carefully chose a solid ground, and with the angle they used in the last part of the bent pyramid, they finally were able to achieve the first true pyramid in history. It is now known as the Red Pyramid. Khufu, son of Snefru. He was growing up watching his father building a pyramid after another. On becoming a king, he, naturally, wanted a pyramid for his own. The Red Pyramid was in every aspect a perfect tomb. But it seemed that perfect would not satisfy the king, Khufu. He could beat his father's pyramid only in one thing: the size. For that mission impossible, he assigned his architect, Himeyunu. They had it all: hundreds of years of experience, thousands of devoted workers, and the architectural ingenuity. They planned to achieve what would be the tallest building on Earth for thousands of years. It is clear now that the idea of building the pyramid did not just pop up in ancient Egyptians' minds. Building pyramids came out through a very long history of accumulation of knowledge, and through trial and error, Egyptians eventually could manage to accomplish the ultimate project of all times. On the other hand, did ancient Egyptians possess all the knowledge required while they were building the pyramid? There is no doubt that ancient Egyptians were very clever. They made very complex calculations, and used very sophisticated tools in building the pyramids. But they missed a couple of things that would have made the building process much easier. One thing is that they did not use iron tools. Instead, their tools were made of copper. And unlike iron, copper blunts easy, and it needed to be sharpened frequently, which was very time and effort consuming. Another thing they missed is they did not use wheels, or at least use timbers as wheels, to move heavy stones.
Egyptians did not use wheels until the New Kingdom era, centuries after building the pyramid.
Instead, and like what some pictures suggests, Egyptians moved heavy stones by dragging them over a wooden sledges. One of the strangest things claimed that aliens taught ancient Egyptians how to make electric lamps. But they did not tell them to use very simple things, such as iron and wheels. One last question may rise. If aliens were so generous, they bothered to travel thousands of light years to teach ancient Egyptians, and even other ancient nations, how to build their monuments. Why don't they visit us these days, and teach us some of their ultra-advanced technologies, such as traveling in the speed of light, or getting clean energy out of nuclear fusion? Or did they?